of us? This is a question asked in the book Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers by Daniel Dreisbach. It's in chapter 5. The reference is to the role of government in public discourse. During the time of the Revolution and a time thereafter, the Founding Fathers made many references to God and that a self-governing people need to be righteous, self-controlled, and virtuous. It was indicated that these three qualities are required if they wanted a stable and prosperous nation. Dreisbach makes references to Micah 6:8 as the leading verse in this belief. Micah 6:8 reads, "He has told you, O man, what is good, and what the Lord requires of you, but to do justice and to love kindness and to walk humbly with your God." This verse is quoted or made reference to by many of the Founding Fathers. George Washington referred to these three qualities in his Circular of the States on June 8, 1783, when he was resigning his commission as leader of the American troops. He wanted all men to do justice, to love mercy, and to carry demeanor of one in humility. He gave similar advice in his farewell address. He again made reference to the qualities that he thought most necessary to have a safe, stable, and prosperous nation. It is not unusual for men of that time to quote the Bible or to say a prayer of thanksgiving. In other words, to be men of faith. They did not all agree on what that faith looked like, but they still all believed in a God, or as Benjamin Franklin stated in his biography, believed in a maker of the universe. He is said to be wise, all good, and all powerful. Franklin would express publicly his belief in this maker of the universe many times in letters and publications. Many of the founders believed that there were abundant benefits to society from biblical beliefs and values, and believed that they should be part of the public discourse. According to Dave Barton in his book, Separation of Church and State, What the Founding Fathers Meant, John Adams did not believe that the government would operate properly without religious principles. Adams said, "We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passion, unbridled by morality and religions. Our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." The Founding Fathers therefore made many references to the Bible. However, as they did many times, they returned to Micah 6:8. Dreisbach gives a reason for this that to him seemed to be the explanation. Obviously, and first, when referring to Micah 6:8, the Founding Fathers believed that self-governing people needed to be self-controlled and virtuous people. Basically, they believed in people being responsible and willing to promote social order in a political system of these self-governed. If people were not able to maintain social order, then it would be maintained by a dictator and by force. Second, our Founding Fathers believed that a nation's people needed to be virtuous and righteous if they are to be living in a stable, prosperous, and peaceful nation. They believed that the blessing of God would only come to the people who conform to these qualities. If a said nation does not conform to these beliefs, it can hardly believe that a just God would bless that said nation and that a destructive path will not lay before this nation. The Founding Fathers read the Bible. That many extracts from and the mentions of these verses show that not only were they familiar with the Scriptures, but that they had read the Bible in its entirety many times over and had knowledge of its teachings. Dreisbach, in his article, The Bible in the Political Rhetoric on the American Founding, stated, "The founders' frequent recurrence to the Bible in their public rhetoric reveals as much about the Bible's place in the hearts and minds of the audience as it does with them." Dreisbach also said that late 18th century Americans were drawn to biblical texts that promised divine blessing and protection for righteous people, whose God is the God of the Bible, and who conform their ways to divine precepts. They were aware that these same passages warned of dreadful consequences to the nation that disregarded divine instruction. Among such popular texts were Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28, and Psalms 33, verse 12. So, to answer the question, what does God require of us? To the founding fathers, it was adhering to God's teachings and practicing these in their public lives and in government, as well as in their private lives. It was that a self-governing people needed to be righteous, self-controlled, and virtuous.